In this video, I want to talk about the 5 signs that you're making progress towards quitting porn that may not actually look or feel like it. Porn addiction recovery is often messy and confusing, and as a licensed therapist, I've done over 15,000 sessions. So I want to share with you what to look out for so you can know that you are on the perfect path. Number 1, you start understanding why you're triggered. Before joining my coaching program, there was a man who reached out to me and said that things had gotten really hopeless for him. He had been relapsing 3 times a week for the previous 5-6 months. And the most discouraging part of all of this for him was that he told me he had no idea why he kept going back to it. It just happens. He said, I'm fine, and then all of a sudden I'm not. So together, we worked through the most recent slip moment by moment, and we figured out exactly what caused it. He'd gotten off the phone with his dad. The call lasted 9 minutes. His father talked about his truck, complained about the neighbor, and never once asked about his son's life. He just felt alone, felt bad about himself, and after he hung up the phone, he just started to scroll around to see what he could find. Pornography was not the core of the problem. It was this heaviness, this feeling of not being good enough, and porn was the coping mechanism to numb out those feelings. Early on, almost every man that I work with says the same thing. I don't know why I keep doing this. But as you start making progress on this journey, that answer becomes clearer. It becomes, I was overwhelmed and I didn't want to feel it. Or my wife dismissed me while we were at dinner and I felt small. I was exhausted and I just wanted 20 minutes where I could turn my brain off. Understanding this is critical. The urges that you feel are not random. Your brain has learned that pornography is the fastest way to distract yourself from negative feelings. That's not a character flaw. That's learned behavior, and your brain just goes through it on repeat and it develops into this pattern. The bad news is that you can't change a pattern that you can't see. The moment that you can name what's underneath the urge, and yes, it can feel bad to face it sometimes. It might not feel like you're making progress when you feel all those things, but just by doing that, you stop blindly resisting the urge and you can start actually working on the deeper issue. Number 2, you stop seeing yourself as the problem. Most men spend years believing that every slip proves something negative about who they are. I'm broken, I'm an addict, I'm weak, this is just who I am. And it is hopeless if you think that this is just you, because all you can really do is just try harder to resist the urges. But of course, that doesn't work. And deep down inside, you know that it's just a matter of time before you mess up again. And so you lose the will to keep fighting and eventually just give in. Why delay the inevitable? It's going to happen anyways. But here's what I want you to know. A relapse doesn't prove who you are. It proves that you faced a situation without a plan or a set of tools that work. I want you to think about this. Imagine somebody spinning around a Rubik's Cube. For hours, they're twisting it, they're hoping something works, they're just spinning it around randomly. But however hard they try, however long they stick with it, they don't get anywhere because they don't have the right method. Now, what happens instead if you know the exact sequence to follow? You're not actually working any harder. You're working less hard, but with more intention and more clarity. You turn it here, then here. It's the same cube, the same problem, but you can solve it in under a minute. And the difference has nothing to do with effort. It's all about the method. That's the biggest difference between a man who can't seem to quit porn after years of trying and a man who gets free in just a matter of a few months. Both of them want it just as bad, but only one of them has a clear path with tools and strategies that he can apply. So don't beat yourself up. This is not a matter of you being a failure or deficient. You just need the right strategies. You need to just know how to address things that are underneath the surface. And if this is where you're having a hard time, then you can download my free guide that shows you how to find and fix the root cause of your porn addiction. This guide gives you an actual structure and a process so you can overcome this. Just click on the link below in the description. Now, what we've been talking about up to this point about not being hard on yourself and just starting to see that you aren't the problem, it's just your approach. This is one of the biggest shifts that doesn't initially feel like progress. You probably think that you do need to be really hard on yourself, that if you just felt bad enough that you wouldn't keep doing this. So letting go of that mentality can feel difficult, but like we talked about, It's not an effort problem, it's a clarity problem. And once you get the steps and you know what strategies to apply and how to apply them, you can make so much more progress and you don't have to feel bad about yourself anymore. Number 3, pornography stops giving you what it used to. This one surprises a lot of men. You go back to it, you relapse, but afterwards you just kind of feel off. Instead of feeling like you got what you needed, you sit there thinking, this actually didn't help me at all. I'm just as stressed, I'm just as lonely, but now I'm feeling even more guilt than before I opened up the app. This is awful. Why do I keep doing this? That is a good sign, even though it might not feel like it. Your brain is noticing that the old strategy isn't paying off the way that it used to. That escape isn't working the way that it once did. This means you're actually even more open to receiving a new set of tools instead of just doom scrolling, edging, leading to a relapse, and then being fine with it, or just telling yourself it's not that big of a deal. Yes, of course, the goal is to stop using pornography, but how we get there is by making sure that you have the best tools to deal with stress and rejection, loneliness, shame, boredom. Once you have those tools, pornography doesn't need to be defeated in a battle. You start getting your needs met in a healthier way, and porn just stops being useful. You just naturally lose the desire for it. Number 4, you start feeling more, not less. Most men expect that their porn addiction recovery journey is going to feel calm and relaxing. Now, it does eventually feel like that, but it usually feels like the opposite in the beginning. You just start to feel more, and you might not be used to that, especially if the emotions aren't very comfortable. It's the stress that you've been managing with a screen, loneliness that you've been feeling in a relationship that's not meeting your needs, or disappointment about where you thought you'd be at this point in your life. Maybe it's anger that you have never really been allowed to feel. That can feel unsettling if you've spent years numbing all of that out. So the more you start to feel, that means there's enough safety and enough capacity to deal with those feelings in a new way. This is where things can actually change. The feelings are showing up, and you don't have to run away from them immediately. You just notice them, you name them, you get curious about where they're coming from instead of pushing them back down and trying to avoid them. Emotions are so useful, even the painful ones, because they're signals. It's your body trying to tell you something that needs your attention. And once you can read and understand that signal, you can get your needs met instead of just escaping them. That's probably a very different relationship with your inner self than maybe you've had since you were young. Number 5, you stop counting and start building. Here's the shift that I watch for more than any others. It's when a man does not focus on how long his streak is, the counter between his last relapse. Instead, he starts tracking how he's handling situations differently. The day counter is not terrible, but it only measures avoidance. And avoidance isn't growth. Even worse, it can work against you sometimes. If a man hangs all of his progress on the number on the counter and then he slips, he doesn't just lose a day, he loses all of his hope. And that collapse is what triggers a binge. It's like, well, I'm back to being that guy again. I might as well keep going. I'm at 0 anyways. The number creates shame. Shame creates the next relapse. Real progress is built out of increasing your capacity to address things in a healthier way. Here's 3 examples of this. First, you're sitting in a feeling and not running from it. You're understanding where it's coming from, and then you can figure out what step to take to resolve it. Second, you're working through stress instead of absorbing it. Most men carry around a full day of pressure, and they never really process it. So naming it and then taking one concrete step releases the pressure before it has a chance to turn into an urge. And third, you're building connection instead of isolating. Most men go quiet when things get hard, and that's the wrong move. Men who isolate turn to pornography to fill the void, but men who reach out don't need that because they get support. So as your abilities grow, as you learn these skills that we've talked about and others, life will stop overwhelming you. The less overwhelmed you are, you will naturally lose the need to use pornography to escape how you feel. Now, if you want to make progress this week, here's a very simple and practical thing that you can do, and it takes less than 5 minutes. I want you to think about the last time you had a slip. Ask yourself, what were the underlying factors that contributed to the urge in the first place? Was it something that was unresolved that you were trying to cope with? Was it stress or boredom? Then, once you identify that, check out this video where I outline my 5-step plan that tells you exactly how to resolve the urge that you feel. This is the path to lasting freedom. You don't need more willpower. You don't need to white-knuckle the urges. You can resolve them and find closure. And so I hope this helps. I'll see you on the next one.